Seriously? Hey you guys, and welcome to another video with me, 6 Plus Stevo. Now this video is going to be a response video, and it's a response to Kirioths' recent video about the Orc range being desperately in need of an update. And just my thoughts on that and a response to that, basically. If you don't know who Kirioths is by now, you must have been hiding under a rock, because he's got one of the biggest channels going. He does some brilliant content. I highly recommend you go and check out his channel. I'll put a link to the video I'm responding to at the end of this video, and I'll put a link to his channel in the description. But I wanted to do a response video because on the whole, I agree with 95% of everything he said in the video. As you can see on screen right now, we've got one of the culprits that is desperately in need of an update, the Orc buggy. That's just one of many models that are in serious need of an update, because as you can see, the Orcs on there, they don't even look the same as the rest of the Orcs in the army, and that's because they're the old version of the Orcs from way back in 2nd edition. The Orc range got a big update in sort of the mid to late 90s, where we got new Orc boys and, well, loads of new Orc stuff that replaced the older stuff, and bulked them out and changed them quite heavily. The older range was a bit more comical, they were smaller, they were a bit skinnier, their faces were different, and they modernised them and bulked them out and made them look a bit more savage and a bit more brutal, and you know, they turned them into the Orcs we know and love today. So it's a bit strange that there's certain models they've just left in the dust for this length of time that just don't fit in with the rest of the range. And like Kirioths said, it almost looks like you've got two different ranges, you know, like they're made by two different companies. They're sort of completely different takes on the Orc race. Then you've got the newer stuff, which looks great, things like Gorkanauts and Flashgits. They're incredible looking models, but these models, these buggies, these Deathcopters, etc., need an update. They need an update because, as I've stated, they just don't tie in with the rest of the range. They look out of place. They look so horrendously dated, and so archaic now. It just they don't hold up, and they clash, and it doesn't give a unified sort of feel to the whole collection and the whole race and the faction itself. And that's quite important, that all these different models and stuff, if you're collecting a force, that it all does come together and it looks unified and it works together. However, the point on his video I do disagree with is on his opinion of the Orc Boys set. And I've stated this already on an earlier video talking about the Orc Codex and the stuff we hope's coming out in the future and my wish list for it. Again, I'll put a link at the end for that video. Now that's a set I don't think needs an update. I'm not saying we couldn't do with one, or that, how do I put it, if they updated them and improved them and made them look better and added more customization, etc., no one's going to moan at that. That's going to be fine. So an update, if they improve them in some way, would be nice. Is it needed though? No, I personally don't think it is needed, because I think they hold up. I think the kit's great. You get loads of options in it. You've got bits to make a knob, you've got big shooter in there, you've got rocket launcher in there, so you've got all the options in there. You've got your sluggers, your choppers, your shooters, you've got extra bits like stick bombs, you've got armor plating, you've got choices of different heads, you've got all the stuff that we're used to in a modern kit, these customization bits, these extra bits, still ammo pouches, and loads of good stuff like that. And there's a lot of versatility with that kit. I've used it to create tank busters. I've used the extra bits in there to customize guys from in other squads and to personalize different bits. So there's a lot of uses with that kit, and they hold up. They don't look out of place. I challenge anyone to say that the Orc boys on the table look out of place when you've got them well painted and built against a newer army that's well painted. I don't think there's a clash there. I don't think anyone would look at the table and go, "Cool, those Orcs look ancient. They look really dated. They look really crap compared to this new stuff." I don't think they do. I think they look fine. And the fact that they are 20, probably almost to the day, 20 years old now, I don't think that matters. I think that's completely irrelevant. Just because a model or a set is 10, 15, 20, or even more, 30 years old, even if it is that ancient, that's not reason enough to update the range. If a model looks that good and it still holds up, you don't need to update it. And I would advise an air of caution with all of us in this hobby to get into a habit of demanding updates on a kit or a model or a whole faction just because it's old. That's not reason enough. If the model's starting to look a bit outdated, if they're looking a bit crap compared to everything else, if advancements have been made and we can make better things now, if the stuff really does look out of date and it doesn't hold up, then that is a good reason to update it. If the stuff looks shit, it needs updating, like these war buggies, war tracks, etc. I think we're all in agreement they look a bit shit. The Orc boys, I don't think they do look shit. I think they look really good. I think they still hold up and they still work. It's not a disposable hobby we're into. It's an expensive hobby and it's a time-consuming hobby. Buying this stuff takes a lot out of your wallet. Building this stuff, collecting this stuff takes a lot of your time. Painting takes even more out of your wallet. It takes even more out of your time. It takes a lot of resources, time and money, to build up an army and build up a collection. I don't want to be in this hobby doing this if in 4 to 5 years time of getting a model or collecting an army that I'm probably still working on, because personally I'm quite a slow painter, and I have limited funds, so I would say in 3 to 4 years my Orc army is still not going to be finished. It's still not going to be where I want it to be. I'm still going to be working on it, along with probably another load of side projects. I don't want then a new range to come out which completely replaces the range that I'm still working on, still collecting, still playing with and still enjoying. I don't want to feel the need to replace stuff with the newer stuff that's come out. Obviously you don't have to do that, do you? You can choose to stick with the same stuff. No one's forcing you to buy the stuff. But if it's updated to the point, or drastically changed to the point where it literally does change the entire range. Let's say they do update the Orc boys, and they do what a few people have been asking for, and they make them bigger. They make the Orc boys much bigger, stronger, scarier looking. Sounds cool, doesn't it? It sounds great, but that brings with it a host of problems. If you do that, you've then got to update the knobs, because now the boys are the size of knobs. All these videos end up talking about knobs and sizes, but you've got to update them then. You've got to make them bigger. Your war bosses, you've got to make bigger. You've got to change virtually all the kits, all the vehicles, because you've got Orc drivers in there, they've all got to be changed. So you're having to change the whole thing. Otherwise, if they only change part of it, you're going to be stuck with what we've got now, is an inconsistent range. And most Orc armies out there are also Horde armies. So if we get bigger Orcs, that's not going to work so well for a Horde army. The Orcs, most Orc players in their force will have 100+ boys, easy, some maybe more. That's going to be a lot harder to do if they're bigger, and by extension more expensive, and it's going to be harder to play and collect a Horde army, which most Orc players are in it for that. A Horde army is generally the way to play them. So yeah, it's that's a slight concern of mine with the range. We've seen them do it with Age of Sigmar. We've got the Oryx now, the what are they called? The Brutes. They're awesome, gorgeous looking models, and massive, huge, great things, Brutes, and they look cool. Don't get me wrong, they look amazing. But you're not going to be able to have a range of models like that and build a proper Horde army. You're not going to fit them all on the table, for one, and good luck getting a carry case to fit hundreds of them in. So yeah, that is my slight concern on that front. Also, well, let's take it back a notch as well, because there is a middle ground. There is a middle ground here that can be reached. You can update the boys and make improvements to them, add more customization, more options, etc., etc., and make a new cool looking kit that's going to get us to empty our wallets and buy more boys. The ideal scenario is that they do that in such a way that it updates them, adds some new character, customization, all that good stuff, but also doesn't make the old kit look obsolete. And what I mean by that is, if you had an army with the current Orc boys and a new kit that had come out, that they wouldn't look out of place together. You could just add them to your existing army. So you've already got hundreds of boys. You're in no rush to replace them. You don't want to replace them. They took you fucking ages to get ready. Painting 100 boys is not a fucking easy task. But you've seen this new kit of boys and you just think, oh, I want some of them because they look so badass. If you could buy that box, take them home, build them, paint them, and then just add them to the rest of your Horde, and they tie in nicely without making your existing stuff look shit and look dated, that's a win-win for everyone in my book. And that's quite a difficult challenge for GW to do, I think. And whether they do it or not, I don't know yet. All of this is speculation. We have no idea whether they're going to release a new boys kit. My personal hope is that unless they do it as I've just said, I hope they don't. I don't want to see the boys get bigger and more brutish. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on the boys. Buggies, Deathcopters, please, 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 GW, update them. I would be amazed, stunned and disappointed if they didn't. It would be horrendous, and I think people would have a lot to say about it if they didn't update those. That should be their number one priority, is updating those models that are clearly completely out of date and clash with the rest of the range. That should be their first thing that they need to tick off the box. Update those for starters. For me personally, if they just did that, I would be content with that, as far as updates go. Then they need to release some new stuff, some new exciting stuff, brand new units, because new stuff's always good, so we need some of that. They do need to update Ghazghkull. Ghazghkull, what a great kit. He's been around for years. He's the big bad, he's the main dude. He's the poster boy for the Orcs, and his model while it doesn't look shit, it doesn't look crap, it's a good looking model, and it has stood the test of time well. But his lore, his fluff needs updating. We need to know what's happened to him since he's been off fighting the Nids. And as I've stated in previous videos as well, he needs to come back as a Prime Orc. He needs to be hench as fuck and built like a brick shithouse. He needs to be the size of a dreadnought. He needs to be clad in the most ridiculous, over-the-top mega armour you've ever seen. And his stats need to reflect it. He needs to be... anyone facing the Orcs, you put Gazgo on the table, the other players should be shitting themselves. And he needs to be up to the task of going toe-to-toe with Girly Man and beating his ass. Because God knows, us Orc players, we've had it rough for a long time now. And it's time for some payback. We need to be on there kicking the shit out of Imperium players. But yeah, that's kind of another point. But yeah, anyway, we've got loads of models that don't need updating. Gorkanaut, Morkanaut, amazing kits. Flash kits, awesome kit. We've got loads of good stuff in the range. And I think if we can just bring some of the other stuff up to match the quality of that, give us some new stuff. Don't alter or change the boys too much. If you are going to mess about with them, please, GW, don't change them too much. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. They're going to want new, bigger, harder Orcs. But remember, guys, we are playing a Horde army for the most part. If you go too big, it's going to become it's going to be too expensive. It's going to be just too hard to do. It's not going to work. And remember, bigger models means bigger base sizes as well. So it's going to be harder to get more of your stuff in range of combat, and it's going to hurt you tactically on the tabletop, and none of us want that. We're having it hard enough as it is. So yeah, there's some of my thoughts anyway. They're just my personal thoughts, as always. If you disagree or if you agree, share in the comments below. Share your thoughts. New range, what do you think needs updating? What would you like to see updated? What would you like to see changed? What would you like to see stay the same and left alone? Share your thoughts below. Get the discussion going. And thanks very much for watching. This is 6+ Stevo, signing out.